أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Can all the sisters hear me? Yeah? Okay. So, to basically continue from last week, what we're going to do first is, I want to just recap what we did last week. What did we talk about last week? Who can tell me? Yeah? Okay, we talked about Tawheed. Very good. Specifically, what did we mention about Tawheed? Three categories of Tawheed. Three categories of Tawheed. So we talked about Tawheed and we mentioned that there were three categories. Who can give me one category? One category of Tawheed. Yeah? Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Very good. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Do you know what that means? Okay. To believe in Allah's Lordship and in His actions. Okay. And that He is the creator and sustainer of everything in existence. Yeah, so Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, that was one category we went over last week. Who can give me another category? Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Very good, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. What does Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah mean? Huh? No. Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Anybody? Go on. Okay, to devote all acts of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah, to devote all acts of worship to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So every act of worship that a person does, whether it's prayer, whether it's fasting, whether it's sacrificing an animal. Yeah, for example, Eid al-Adha, when the time for Eid comes and you sacrifice an animal. Sacrificing an animal is an act of worship. So when you sacrifice an animal, what do you say before you sacrifice? Bismillah. Yeah, and so sacrificing an animal is an act of worship. Also tawaf. Tawaf is also an act of worship. So all these acts of worship should be purely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. So Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah is to devote all acts of worship, every single act of worship that we do to Allah Azza wa Jal, purely for His sake. Okay, so that was the second category. Who can tell me the third category of Tawheed? Okay, Tawheed al-Asma' was-Sifat. What does Asma mean? Abdullah? Names, very good. Names. Asma means names. And Sifat, attributes. So the names and attributes of Allah. Knowing that Allah Azza wa Jal has names and attributes. Who can give me some examples of some of the names of Allah? Some of the names of Allah. Al-Quddus, very good. Al-Khaliq, very good, the creator, yeah. Al-Muhaymin, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, all these are names of Allah Azza wa Jal, very good. What about attributes? Attributes of Allah, what does it mean when we say the attributes of Allah? So you have the names of Allah, Al-Asma, and then you have As-Sifat, the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. What does that mean, the attributes of Allah? Who can give me an example from the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal? Yeah? Attributes of Allah, we mentioned it last week. We talked about some of the attributes of Allah. The fact that Allah Azza wa Jal has a hand. Allah Azza wa Jal has hands. Allah says in the Quran, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim. The hand of Allah is above their hands, above the hands of the believers. So we know that Allah Azza wa Jal has certain attributes. He has a face. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a face. He has hands. But when it comes to His face and His hands, okay, they're not like the face or the hands of His creation. Okay, and it's whatever befits His majesty. Allah can have a face, and you know, when it comes to His attributes, such as, you know, having a face or having hands or being able to speak, Allah Azza wa Jalla is able to speak, and how He speaks, okay, and the manner in which He speaks is up to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He can speak however He wishes to speak, because He is the creator, okay? And He is the creator of the heavens and the earth and the creator of you and me. So when it comes to how He speaks, we don't ask and we don't talk about how He speaks, because He can speak however He wishes to speak, okay? Because He is Allah Azza wa Jalla, the most powerful. Very good. So we talked about Tawheed and we talked about Allah Azza wa Jal. Why are we talking about Tawheed and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why are we talking about Tawheed and Allah? Excellent. It's part of the pillars of Iman, and it's the first pillar of Iman. So we're going through the pillars of Iman, the pillars of faith. And the first pillar is belief in Allah Azza wa Jal. The first pillar is belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first pillar of Iman. How many pillars are there altogether? 6 pillars. So the 6 pillars altogether, the first pillar is to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, that's the first pillar. So we talked about Tawheed and we talked about Allah Azza wa Jal. And today we're going to be talking about the angels, inshallah. We're going to be talking about the angels. Allah says in the Quran, كُلٌّ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ, that all the prophets and messengers, they believed in Allah and they believed in His angels. وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ. And it shows you the importance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how important Allah Azza wa Jal is. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the angels, okay, what does He say? Does He say the angels or does He say His angels? No, He says His angels. كُلٌّ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ, everyone believes in Allah. وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ, and His angels. وَكُتُبِهِ, and His books. وَرُسُلِهِ, and His book and His messengers. So Allah Azza wa Jal, when He mentions the creation of Allah, okay, He refers it back to who? Back to Himself, back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, showing that these are all from the creations of Allah Azza wa Jal, okay, and that Allah, belief in Allah is the most important pillar. Because if a person doesn't believe in Allah, then he can't be a Muslim, he can't be a mu'min. Yeah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions the angels. He mentions the angels. And the angels are from those things which are from the unseen. So we can't see the angels. We know they're around, and we know they're a creation from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we can't see them. They're from the ilmul ghaib. Just like the jinn are from the ilmul ghaib. Yeah? We can't see them, but we know they exist. And we can't see angels, but we know that the angels themselves, they exist. Okay, what are the angels created from? What are the angels created from? Yeah? From light. Very good. From light. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that the angels, خُلِقَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةِ مِن نُور, that the angels have been created from light. That the angels have been created from light. وَخُلِقَتِ الْجَانُّ مِن مَارِجٍ مِن نَار, and the jinn have been created from fire. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the angels from light. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the angels. And He created the jinn using fire. When were they created? When were the angels created? Were they created before us or were they created after us? Huh? Before. They were created before us. Okay, good. So Allah Azza wa Jal, okay, created the angels before us, before He created Adam alayhi salam. What's the evidence for this? To say that the angels were created before mankind and before Adam alayhi salam. Can anybody tell me? From the Quran or from the Sunnah? Okay, so when Adam alayhi salam was created by Allah, He ordered the angels to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. But He could have created the angels after Adam alayhi salam. He could have created the angels after and then told them to prostrate. But you're close. You're close. It's mentioned in the same area. It's mentioned in the same area. Before He created Adam, before Allah Azza wa Jalla created Adam, what did He say? قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ Khalifa. He said, I am going to make a representative for myself on earth. So who was He talking to? The angels. He was talking to the angels. So He was telling the angels, okay, that I am going to create a representative for me on earth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the angels before He created Adam alayhi salam, and before He created anything, before He created the mankind, and before He created Adam alayhi salam, the angels were already there. And so He spoke to the angels and He told them that I am going to create Adam alayhi salam, and I'm going to make him a representative for me on earth. Very good. Also, when it comes to the angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created them in a specific way. So He's mentioned that He's created them from light. Okay? What else has He mentioned about the creation of the angels? What else is specific for the angels?
He made them so they only worship Him.
Okay, very good. He made them so that they only worship Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? لا يعصون الله. They don't disobey Allah. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. And they do whatever they have been ordered to do, whatever they have been told to do. So they don't disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah gives them an order, they do it. And they don't do anything that they haven't been told to do by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. Very good. So they follow the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so that's another thing. Something else about the angels. So we know now that they've been created from light and that they don't disobey Allah. La ya'sun Allah. They don't disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Two things about the angels. Something else about the angels. Somebody else. Somebody else. Anybody? Sorry? Okay, very good. So you have some angels who stand or who are by the shoulders of the believer. What about when it comes to the actual creation of the angels? Something specific when it comes to the angels themselves, the way they are created. Okay, they all have different jobs. Very good. But also, they have wings. Yeah, we haven't mentioned this. They have wings. The angels, okay, of Allah, this creation of Allah, this amazing creation, they have wings. So the angels have been created with wings, and they have different number of wings. So some of the angels might have 6 wings, 10 wings. Some of the angels have 600 wings. Which angel has 600 wings? Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam has 600 wings, and he is from the greatest of the angels. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, when I saw Jibreel alayhi salam, he said that he filled up the horizon. He filled up the whole of the horizon, filled up all the space between the heavens and the earth. And that he had 600 wings, each wing covering the horizon. So you can imagine how huge Jibreel alayhi salam is. And he is from the greatest of creation when it comes to the angels. The greatest of the angels is Jibreel alayhi salam. Okay. And also when it comes to their beauty, they're very, very beautiful. Yeah, they're very, very beautiful. That's why, for example, even us as humans, when we see something beautiful or a beautiful child, what do we say? What do we say? My little angel. Isn't that what we say? When you see something, a cute baby or something, yeah, or a cute child, that's what we say. Yeah, my little angel. And also, Yusuf alayhi salam was known to be very beautiful. And so when the people saw him, okay, during his time when he was alive, when the people saw him, they said, this isn't a man, this is an angel. Because angels are known to be beautiful. So people know that the angels are a creation of Allah, which is known to be very, very beautiful. Also, when it comes to the angels, do they eat and drink like the jinn? The jinn, we know that they eat and drink. And humans, us as humans, we eat and drink. And the angels, who can tell me, do the angels eat and drink? No, they don't. The angels don't eat and they don't drink. Okay, they're not in need of any food or drink. So the angels, unlike the jinn and unlike the humans, they don't need to nourish themselves. They don't need to have that energy and to eat, and that need to eat and drink. Okay, Allah Azza wa Jal hasn't given them that need for them to have to eat and drink. Who can give me an evidence to tell me an evidence, a proof that they don't eat and drink? I'll give you a clue. It's something to do with one of the prophets. One of the prophets of Allah. One of the prophets of Allah. Okay, Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam, okay, was living, okay, alone in the desert, nobody else was around him. He had some special guests. he had two people come to him, okay, who were actually angels. They were angels who came to visit him. And these angels came in the form of men. And what does that tell you? That tells you the angels can take other forms. So they took the form of men. These angels, they took the form of men. And they came to Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was living in the middle of the desert. There was nobody else there. Nobody else living with him. And when he met them, the first thing he did, okay, was to look after them. And Allah mentions the story in the Quran. And He says, when the angels came to Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ibrahim took Ijlin Samin. Okay, he took an animal and he sacrificed the animal for the two angels. Straight away, he'd never ever seen them before. He didn't know them, never met them before. But the first thing Ibrahim alayhi salam did was sacrifice an animal, and he prepared a feast for those two angels. Yeah, he prepared a feast for those two angels. And then when he had prepared the feast, okay, he presented the food to them. He presented the food to those angels. But the angels, because they don't have the need to eat and drink, they never ate the food that was presented to them. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he went through all this effort to look after these two angels, or these two people. He didn't know they were angels. And he sacrificed an animal and he presented it in front of them. And they never ate. And so he became worried and he became scared. Imagine, for example, somebody came to your house and you offered them food and they don't eat. They just sit there and they don't eat. They don't take one bite of food. You'd be worried. And you never met them before. You'd think that maybe they've come for some other reason. Maybe they have some bad intentions. Maybe they're going to do something bad to me. So Ibrahim alayhi salam became worried and he became scared. And so that's when they told him, they said, we are angels and messengers sent from Allah Azza wa Jal. So these two angels took the form of men, and they never ever ate, because they don't have the need to eat or drink. So then the angels spoke to Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he told him that we have come to the nation of Lut, who was another prophet, and they have come to punish those people who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who can give me some lessons from this story? From the lessons of this story, some things that we've learned from this story, this small story about Ibrahim alayhi salam and his meeting with these two angels. Something we've learned from this story. Yeah? Sorry? Very good. So the angels can take the form of humans. The angels can take the form of humans because they came to Ibrahim alayhi salam in the form of men. Yeah? Very good. The angels are beautiful. Sorry? Sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, they never ate or drank. But also it shows you how a person should look after his guests. Doesn't it? A person should look after his guests. When guests come to his house, he should offer them food. He should be good to them. Even if he doesn't know them. Even if he doesn't know them. He should look after them and be good to them. And that's why it's allowed for a person, okay, when a guest comes, it's obligatory upon him. He has to look after that person for 3 days. If that person decides to stay for 3 days, he has the obligation to look after that person for 3 days. He has to look after him. Yeah. So next time you go to somebody's house, okay, and you want to stay there for 3 days, then that person has to look after you. Yeah, for 3 days. After 3 days, it's not an obligation for you. You don't have to. But for 3 days, you have to look after him. You have to look after him, you have to feed him, you have to be good to him, you have to honor him, honor your guests. So, Ibrahim alayhi salam was honoring his guests. He was being good to them. He never ever met them before, but he made such a huge meal for them. Sacrificed an animal, went through all that preparation to look after his guests that he had. Very good. Another example of angels who visited prophets was our own Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can anybody tell me when the angel came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? In the form of a man. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi was visited by an angel in the form of a man. In the form of a man. Okay, very good. Angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Prophet sallallahu, and what did he say to him? Okay, so he came to teach the Prophet sallallahu about the religion. So he asked him certain questions. Did I mention this last week? No, I didn't mention it. Okay, so Umar radiallahu an, he says that one day we were sitting, okay, with the Prophet sallallahu, me and some other companions, and a man came in who none of us had ever seen before, and he had exceedingly black hair, and he had extremely white clothes, and we had never seen him before, and it didn't look like he had any of the effects of travel. You know, when somebody is traveling and he's come from travel, especially in those days, he would be tired and his clothes would be dirty and his hair would be messy because he's been traveling, and traveling in those days used to take a long time, yeah, days and days. So he said it didn't look like this person was a traveler, but no one from amongst us knew who he was. We'd never seen him before. None of us had ever seen him before. So he said that this man came in and he came directly to the Prophet ﷺ, and he sat down in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he said to him, Ya Muhammad, akhbirni anil Islam. Oh Muhammad, tell me about Islam, inform me about Islam. And so this man didn't say, Oh Rasulullah, because this was from the etiquettes, okay, of the time, that the people would say, Ya Rasulullah, they would say, Oh Messenger of Allah. They wouldn't call him by his name, because he wasn't from manners. But he said, Ya Muhammad, oh Muhammad, akhbirni anil Islam, tell me about Islam. And then the Prophet ﷺ told him about the 5 pillars of Islam. And then this man, he said, Sadaqt. He said, you have spoken the truth. And so Umar radiallahu anhu said it was strange that he would ask him questions, and then after he had been given the answer, he would say, you have spoken the truth. And if somebody asks a question, why would he ask a question? Because he doesn't know the answer. But when he was given the answer, he said to the Prophet ﷺ, Sadaqt, you have spoken the truth. And then he asked him about Iman, which we're going through now. Yeah, the 6 pillars of Iman. He asked him about Iman, and the Prophet ﷺ went through all the pillars of Iman. And once he had asked him about Iman, he said the same thing, Sadaqt, you have spoken the truth. Then he asked him a few other questions. And then this man, he got up and he left. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, I went out to look for this person. I went out to look for this person to find out who he was. And he said, I never saw him in the whole of the city. I couldn't find him anywhere. And so he went back to where the Prophet ﷺ was. And the Prophet ﷺ asked him, he said, do you know who that was? And Umar radiallahu anhu said, Allah and his messenger know best. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, هذا Jibreel, this was Jibreel, آتاكم يعلمكم دينكم. He has come, or he came to teach you your religion. So Jibreel alayhi salam, at this moment in time, had come to the Prophet ﷺ to teach the people about Islam. To teach the people about Islam. And that's why when he came in, he sat down right in front of the Prophet ﷺ. And he called him by his name. Why did he call him by his name? So people would pay attention. So the people would pay attention, they would listen, they would see this man sitting in front of the Prophet ﷺ. And this man, they'd never ever seen him before. And he's talking to the Prophet ﷺ like this, so that the people would pay attention. Because he was there to teach them their religion. So he came in the form of a man. He came in the form of a man. And also, for example, from the times when angels came in the form of men, was during the time of Maryam alayhi salam. Maryam alayhi salam, who was the mother of Isa alayhi salam. And so an angel came to inform Maryam alayhi salam of her birth, or the birth of her child Isa alayhi salam, the miraculous birth of Isa alayhi salam. Yeah, and so the angel came in the form of a man, and it's mentioned in the Quran, the story, that she was praying to Allah Azza wa Jal, and this man came and she became afraid because she was alone and she was worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. And this man came and she thought he was going to do harm to her. And so that man was actually an angel. And the angel said that I am a messenger from your Lord, and I'm going to bless you, and I've come to bless you and inform you of a child that you will have, a miraculous birth of Isa alayhi salam. So these are just examples of when the angels took form of humans. They took the form of humans. And also, when it comes to the angels, And it comes to their size. Not all the angels are the same size. Okay, angels are different sizes. So you have really huge angels, just like Jibreel alayhi salam, okay, whose wings used to cover the size of the heavens and the earth, as the Prophet said. Yeah, he said, when I saw Jibreel, he covered the size between the heavens and the earth. That's enormous. Can you imagine how huge Jibreel alayhi salam was? And also, there are other angels which are mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, and he mentions their size. He says that I have been told and informed of some of the angels which carry the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They carry the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal. And these angels that carry the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder of one angel which carries the throne, okay, of Allah, the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder is 700 years worth of journey. So the distance between the earlobe of this angel and the shoulder is a distance of 700 years. That's the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder, just the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder. So can you imagine how big the angel must be? If the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder is 700 years, imagine how huge the angel must be. Those who are carrying the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if that's the size of the angel, and if that's the size of 700 years between the earlobe and the shoulder, imagine how huge the angel is. And then imagine, okay, how huge the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Can you imagine how huge the throne of Allah Azza wa Jalla is? If the angel carrying its space between his earlobe and his shoulder is 700 years, then one can only imagine how big the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So it shows you that the size of the angels are different. They're different sizes. Some are huge and some aren't so huge. Also, when it comes to the angels, when it comes to the number of angels that we have, how many angels are there altogether? How many angels exist at this moment in time? Nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows. We don't know the exact number of angels. But there's lots and lots of angels. There's many, many angels. Okay, it's mentioned in the Sunnah, okay, that there are so many angels, okay, that the heavens are making a sound, the creaking, because of the amount of angels that are filling up the heavens, filling up the skies. So we know that there's a lot of angels. And every single day, 70,000 angels go up to the heavens to Baytul Ma'mur. What's Baytul Ma'mur? Baytul Ma'mur is a house, okay, which the angels do tawaf around. Okay, and this house isn't on earth, but it's in the heavens. It's in paradise. Yeah. So this house called Baytul Ma'mur, it's in the heavens. And it's in the same location as the Kaaba. Okay, so it's in the same location as the Kaaba, just higher up in the heavens, but directly above the Kaaba. And so every single day, the Prophet ﷺ said that every single day, 70,000 angels leave the earth and they go up to Baytul Ma'mur. And they perform tawaf of Baytul Ma'mur. And they never ever come back to earth again. So every single day, you have 70,000 angels. So today there were 70,000 angels going up into the heavens to Baytul Ma'mur, and they did tawaf, and they're never ever going to come back again. Tomorrow there's going to be another 70,000 angels going up to the heavens doing tawaf, and they're never ever going to come back to earth again. Every single day. So it shows you how many angels there are. There's 70,000 going every single day. That's a huge, huge amount. Yeah, lots and lots of angels. So we don't know the exact number. We don't know exactly how many angels there are, but we know that there's lots and lots of angels. Yeah, there's many, many different types of angels. Okay, very good. So now what I want you to do, okay, on your own or with a partner, I want you to try to come up with angels, the names of angels that are mentioned, okay, in the Quran or the Sunnah, and the roles that they have. What job do they have? Okay, so try to think if you know of any names of the angels and what their role is and what they do. what Allah Azza wa Jal has given them, what job He's given them to do. Okay, so if you can think of a couple, write a couple of one, even one. If you can think of one, just write one down. Yeah, if you can think of more, write them all down. If you can't think of the roles that they do, just write the names down. Okay, yeah. So on a piece of paper, I'll give you a few minutes. Names of the angels and jobs that they have been given to do. Okay, a name of an angel. Anybody on the sister side? A name of an angel. Anybody give me a name of an angel? Any name? Jibreel alayhi salam. Very good. So Jibreel alayhi salam, and anybody know his job? Okay, so he used to send the revelation down to the messengers, and he's from the greatest of the angels. So we know the angels are of different levels and different statuses. And so Jibreel alayhi salam was from the greatest of the angels and from the most magnificent. And the Prophet said that when I saw Jibreel alayhi salam, he covered the heavens and the earth, and his wings, he had 600 wings. And from the wings, okay, there were pearls and rubies falling. Pearls and rubies were falling from the wings of Jibreel alayhi salam. So it shows you the immense beauty and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How amazing this creation of Allah Azza wa Jal is. Very good. So Jibreel alayhi salam, yeah, from one of the angels, from the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Another angel from the brothers. Yeah, Abdullah. Munkar and Nakir. Munkar and Nakir. Very good. So these are another two angels which Allah Azza wa Jal created, Munkar and Nakir. Do you know what their role is? Very good. So Munkar and Nakir, what is their role? What's their job that Allah Azza wa Jal has given them? He's given them the job of asking the person when he dies, when he's in his grave, he asks, or they ask the one who dies in the grave three questions. Three questions that are asked to every single person. Every single person who dies and he enters the grave and everything leaves him, his family leaves him, his wealth leaves him, nothing's going to stay behind except his deeds. And these two angels come, Munkar and Nakir, and they'll ask this person who died three questions. Okay, what are those questions, Abdullah? Sorry? Okay, what is your religion? That's one question. What is your religion? Another question. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your Lord? And the last one? Very good. What do you say about this man? Who was this man? Yani the Prophet ﷺ. And the Muslim will be able to answer all these questions correctly. So that's the job of these two angels. They go around questioning, okay, the one who dies and the one who's in his grave. And they'll ask every single person who dies these 3 questions. Okay, so I have a question now. These 2 angels, they ask every single person who dies these questions. Now there's people dying every single second. And people die at the same time. All around the world people are dying. So how can these 2 angels ask all these different people? How is that possible? A very simple answer. The answer is very, very simple. How is it possible these angels can ask every single person who dies these questions?
Because there's so much of them.
No, there's 2. There's 2 angels. Yeah. Sorry? Okay, because they're at the same place at the same time. But why? Why are they at the same place at the same time? Because Allah Azza wa Jal gives them the ability. Allah is able to do all things. Very simple. Allah Azza wa Jal is able to do all things. That's something very, very important. Allah can do anything He wishes. And if He wants them to be able to question all the people who die, then they'll be given the ability to do that. Yeah, they'll be given the ability to be able to do that. It's like, for example, when Allah says that in the last part of the night, I descend to the lower heaven. Allah Azza wa Jal descends to the lowest heaven in the last third of the night. And He asks, He says, who is there from amongst my creation, from amongst the humans, who is awake and is making dua to me so I can respond to his dua? That's why when a person wakes up in the last part of the night, it's one of the times when a person's dua is answered. Yeah. So then somebody might ask, night is different depending on where we live. When it's night here, it's not night in Malaysia or in Australia. So how is that possible? And we say because Allah Azza wa Jal is able to do all things. Allah Azza wa Jal is able to do all things. There's nothing which Allah Azza wa Jal can't do. Yeah. So this was another example of some of the angels that Allah created, Munkar and Nakir, and they ask those who die in the graves, they ask them 3 questions. Who can give me another example of an angel? Malik, very good. An angel whose name is Malik. Do you know what his job is? Okay, he guards the hellfire. He guards the hellfire, Malik. And the Prophet ﷺ, met Malik. The Prophet ﷺ met Malik when he went on a journey, the night journey, and he went into the heavens. And Jibreel alayhi salam also showed him hellfire, and he met Malik. And Malik never ever smiles. Malik never ever smiles because he's the keeper of hellfire. And he's probably seen things that no one has ever seen before when it comes to the punishments of the hellfire. And so Malik has never ever smiled. He's never ever smiled. And Jibreel alayhi salam said to the Prophet ﷺ that Malik has never ever smiled, but if he was to smile for anybody, then he would have smiled for you. If he was to have smiled for anybody, then he would have smiled for you, O Messenger of Allah. So Malik is someone who guards the doors of the hellfire. He guards the hellfire. Okay? And that's his role and that's his job which has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, very good. Who can give me another example? Another angel. Yeah? Israfil. Israfil, not Israel. Israfil. Israfil. Yeah? Good. So Israfil is another name of another angel from the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you know his job? Okay, very good. On the Day of Judgment, he is going to blow the trumpet. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ said that Israfil is holding the trumpet and the trumpet is by his lips. So right now, Israfil is holding the trumpet and is about to blow the trumpet. And he's looking in the direction of Allah's throne. And he's waiting for the command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? It's like, for example, somebody who's about to start a race. Yeah? And he's waiting for the person who's going to tell him to go. Ready, steady, and then he's paying attention. At any moment, he's going to say go and you're going to run. It's the same thing. This angel is about to blow the trumpet and it shows you how close the Day of Judgment is. Yeah? So this angel is waiting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the order and then he's going to blow the trumpet. He's going to blow the trumpet. How many times is he going to blow the trumpet? How many times is Israfil going to blow the trumpet? Ali? Twice. He's going to blow the trumpet twice. Why is he going to blow the trumpet twice? Why twice? What's going to happen the first time he blows the trumpet? Everything ceases to exist. Everyone is going to die. Everyone who is alive is going to die. From the animals, from the humans, everything is going to cease to exist. Yeah? And then even Israfil, the angel who blows the trumpet, is going to cease to exist. All the angels are going to die. Every single thing is going to die. Every single thing is going to cease to exist. Even the angel who blows the trumpet. Even Israfil, who blows the trumpet, is going to die. Allah is going to cease, make him not exist. And then He's going to create him again. Allah is going to create this angel again, and then He's going to blow the trumpet for the second time. He's going to blow the trumpet for the second time, and when He blows the trumpet for the second time, everything is going to come out of the earth. All the creation of Allah, all the humans who ever lived, from the beginning of time to the end of time, from the time of Adam alayhi salam, all the way to the last person who ever lived. All those people are going to be raised up. Yeah, they're going to be raised up, and they're going to be held to account, okay, for their actions and for the things that they used to do and the things that they used to say, and all the good deeds that they used to do, they'll be rewarded for those, and all the bad deeds that they used to do, they'll be punished for those bad deeds, and then they'll end up going to either to paradise or to hellfire. Yeah, so Israfil is responsible for blowing the trumpet. Yeah, Israfil is someone who's responsible for blowing the trumpet, and he's waiting for the order of Allah so he can blow the trumpet, okay, so that the day of judgment will start. Who can give me another example? Sisters, another example. Another example of an angel from the angels of Allah. Okay, very good. Mikael. Another angel from the angels of Allah is an angel called Mikael. Mikael is another angel from the angels of Allah. What's the role of Mikael? Anybody know? No, not the angel of death. Sorry? No. Mikael is responsible for the rain. So when Allah Azza wa Jalla orders the rain, okay, to occur, Mikael is responsible for the rain. And he has helpers, okay, which help him when it comes to distributing the rain. Okay, how much rain is going to go where. And he's ordered by Allah Azza wa Jalla. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla orders him, and he carries out this order, and is responsible for the rain that falls on earth. Okay. And another example that he gave was the angel of death. That's another type of angel. The angel of death, okay, who is going to take the souls of the person who dies. When that person dies, okay, the angel of death will come and he will take the soul. He will take the soul, and that's his job, that's his role, and that's his duty by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he takes the soul of a Muslim, he will take that soul gently from the body. Okay, because that person was a believer in Allah Azza wa Jal. That person believed in Allah, and he had faith in Allah, and he believed in the Prophet ﷺ, and he was a Muslim. So the angels, okay, or the angel of death, when he takes the soul of the believer, he takes the soul gently and softly. But when it comes to the soul of a disbeliever, and someone who didn't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, and didn't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was arrogant when he came to worshipping Allah, and didn't believe that Allah was his creator, didn't thank Allah Azza wa Jal for all the blessings that He gave him, that soul of the disbeliever will be snatched. It will be snatched away, and it won't be taken out softly. Okay, so it will be snatched away from the body, because it was someone who was ungrateful, and he will be cursing that soul. That soul will be cursed, and that soul will be cursed, unlike the soul of the believer. So that's another type of angel, the angel of death. Also, when it comes to the angels, okay, they're known to be very, very fast. Angels are very, 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 very fast. Like today, we think that the speed of light is the fastest thing. There's nothing faster than the speed of light. But angels are faster than the speed of light. They're very, very fast. Because the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes companions would come to him and they'd ask him questions. They'd ask the Prophet ﷺ questions about Islam or about life. Okay? And so they'd ask him questions, and the Prophet ﷺ wouldn't know the answer. And so in that instant, between the companion asking him the question and the Prophet ﷺ giving him the answer, Between that time, Allah Azza wa Jal would send angels with the answer for the Prophet ﷺ to answer the companions with, in a matter of not even seconds. So they come from the throne of Allah, or from Allah Azza wa Jal, all the way down to the Prophet ﷺ for him to be able to answer the question of that companion. So it shows you how quickly they can come. Allah Azza wa Jal informs them of the answer, and the angels come down and then they inform the Prophet ﷺ, all in a matter of seconds, or less than seconds. It's like I ask somebody a question and he responds, it's straight away. It's not even seconds, it's less than seconds. So it shows you that the angels are very, very fast, and they're very, very quick, and they're faster than the speed of light, which we think is the fastest thing. So this is just like a summary of angels and a description of the angels. What are the angels? What kind of creation are they? What were they created from? What kind of angels are they? What are their roles? What are their jobs? Okay. So does anybody have any questions about this? About the angels? Any questions about the angels? The name of the angel of death, I'm not sure. I don't know if it has a name. I'm not sure. But the angel of death is responsible for taking the souls of every single person. Every single thing. Every human who dies, he takes the soul away. So we just have to make sure that when we die, that the angel of death takes our souls softly. Takes our souls nicely away from our body. We don't want it to take it away strongly and with force. That's the most important thing. That means that they have earlobes. That means the angels have earlobes, because the Prophet ﷺ described that. He said the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder, so that means that the angels have earlobes and they have shoulders. A distance of 700 years. So it shows you the size of the angels. Very good. Any questions from the sisters? Okay, so this was just a brief talk about the angels, and inshallah next week I'm going to recap. So I'm going to ask you questions about the angels, see if you remember, and then we're going to carry on. We're going to talk about the next pillar of faith. The next pillar of faith. What is the next pillar of faith? After belief in Allah and belief in the angels, kutubihi, His books. The books of Allah Azza wa Jalla that He sent down to the prophets and to the messengers. So next week, inshallah, we're going to be talking about the books. Okay, subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.